Good afternoon. Please be seated. I'm Jerry Cruz, Dean of the SIU School of Medicine, and I would like to welcome all of you, parents, spouses, families, and friends, to this convocation of the faculty of the Southern Illinois University School of Medicine. This convocation is now in session. We meet today for the purpose of commencement for the class of 2017. This is the 43rd commencement for the School of Medicine. I would like to introduce Dr. Brad Caldwell, Interim Chancellor of Southern Illinois University, Carbondale.
Thank you, Dr. Cruz, and good afternoon. My name is Brad Caldwell, and I'm the Interim Chancellor at Southern Illinois University at Carbondale, and it is my pleasure to join you for this memorable event. On behalf of the entire university, I want to extend my congratulations to the class of 2017. Let's give them a round of applause. I know we are so very proud of their accomplishments. Specifically, I will mention 4 groups that today I'm so very proud of. First, our students. We truly are very proud of you. Many of you will share your talents, your expertise in rural areas and underserved areas. The residents of these communities will benefit from your knowledge as well as your compassion. I'm also confident in your futures. Why? Because it is because of the outstanding education and experiences you have received from the second group, our faculty and staff of the School of Medicine. My sincere appreciation for your dedication you've shown to our students and your strong commitment to clinical research. Third, parents, family members, I know, and friends, can't forget friends, I know you all are filled with pride on this day as well. Your support for these students is what has made this day possible. So to you all, and finally, I want to wrap up with our students one more time. Please accept my best wishes with a quick story that I will tell as I go off my script, which is very dangerous. Since April 10th, I have had the unfortunate privilege, of sitting in Missouri Baptist Hospital with my mother, who has had something which some of you will know as a Whipple procedure, where she has had an extensive surgery. She's 81 years old, but yesterday I had the good privilege of bringing her home in very good health. I am I'll clap for that one. I am very, very high on the medical profession right now. But I say that to say the following. You have no idea, folks, what kind of impact you're going to have on the future. It may be an 81-year-old like my mother, or it may be someone of much younger age. Who knows? It doesn't matter. We are so dependent on you, and sometimes we take these things for granted. I am here to tell you I will never participate in another one of these ceremonies or nursing ceremonies or PA ceremonies and ever take for granted the services that you will be providing, whether it's truly in the medical field or something else that you may choose to do related to medicine. Please know that you are making an impact, and we're so very proud of you. Thank you so much for allowing me the humble privilege to be here today to award these degrees. Thank you.
I'd now like to introduce the other members of the administration and the dais party. Please hold your applause until all members have been introduced. Dr. Wesley Robinson McNeese, Associate Dean for Diversity and Inclusion. Dr. Harold Lawson, Associate Dean for Clinical Affairs and Population Health and Chief Medical Officer, SIU Medicine. Dr. Deborah Clayman, Senior Associate Dean for Education and Curriculum. Dr. Yutin Lee, Dean of the Graduate School, Southern Illinois University at Carbondale. Dr. Kamara Jones, our graduation speaker. Dr. Janet Albers, class of 1987, distinguished alumna. Dr. Elizabeth Kavanaugh, President, SIU School of Medicine Alumni Society. Dr. Wiley Jenkins, Co-Director, MD, MPH Program. Dr. Carl Feingold, Chair, Department of Pharmacology. Dr. Donald S. Torrey, Chair, Department of Medical Microbiology, Immunology, and Cell Biology. Dr. Eric J. Constance, Associate Dean for Students and Admissions. 4 members of the faculty have been honored by the class of 2017. Dr. Andrew J. Varney to lead the Hippocratic Oath. Dr. John D. Mellinger to hood the graduates. Dr. J. Kevin Dorsey, the recipient of the 2017 Golden Apple Award. And 1 member of the dais party could not make it because of travel concerns today, Ms. Natalie Viscomi, MS, who was chosen as Outstanding Teacher of the Year during the graduate's first year of medical school in Carbondale. Ladies and gentlemen, the administration and dais party, SIU School of Medicine. Would all of the faculty members of the SIU School of Medicine please rise? I would also like to recognize all of the faculty members of the School of Medicine who have worked side by side with the graduates in the classroom, the labs, the hospitals, the clinics, and in the communities we serve, the faculty. Please seat. Dr. Torrey will now present the candidate for degree Master of Science in Molecular Biology, Microbiology, and Biochemistry.
Will the candidate for the degree Master of Science in Molecular Biology, Microbiology, and Biochemistry please rise? Chancellor Caldwell, this candidate has completed all requirements established by Southern Illinois University. On behalf of its faculty, I'm pleased to recommend her to you for the degree Master of Science.
In accordance with this recommendation, and by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Southern Illinois University Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the degree Master of Science with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto appertaining.
Pooja Sindhar Joshi.
Dr. Feingold will now present the candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy in Pharmacology and Neuroscience.
Will the candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy in Pharmacology and Neuroscience please rise? Chancellor Caldwell, these candidates have completed all requirements established by Southern Illinois University. On behalf of this faculty, I'm pleased to recommend them to you for the degree Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you. In accordance with the recommendation and by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Southern Illinois University Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the degree Doctor of Philosophy with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto appertaining.
I'd like to call to the podium Dr. Vikram Bors to come forward to receive his diploma. I'd like to call Dr. Arushi Sharma to come forward and receive her diploma. I'd like to call forward Dr. Srinivasa Kamajasula to come forward and receive his diploma.
The oath of Hippocrates is the traditional symbol of the honored association of medical science with the highest standards of ethical behavior. Dr. Andrew J. Varney has been selected to read this oath. Will all physicians on stage and in the audience please rise?
I solemnly pledge that I will fulfill, according to my ability and judgment, this oath and this covenant. I will hold them who have taught me this art in high esteem. I will live my life in partnership with them. If they are in need, I will give them assistance. I will share learning with those who have affirmed the covenant of medical law. I will apply my knowledge to help the sick according to my ability and judgment, but I will never use it to injure or wrong them. I will keep my life and science sincerely and inviolably, without deceit or guile. Whatever house I enter, I will go into for the benefit of the sick and will abstain from all intentional wrongdoing and harm. Whatever I see or hear, professionally or privately, which ought not to be divulged, I will keep secret. While I keep this oath inviolate, may it be granted me to enjoy life and the practice of the art, respected by all. But should I transgress this oath, may the reverse be my lot.
Please be seated. Will the candidates for the degree Doctor of Medicine please rise? Chancellor Caldwell, the degree Doctor of Medicine is awarded only to those who have demonstrated outstanding ability and knowledge, as well as the diligence and personal strength of character necessary to be a physician. These candidates have completed all requirements established by the School of Medicine, and on behalf of its faculty, I am pleased to recommend them to you for the conferral of the degree Doctor of Medicine.
Thank you, Dr. Cruz. In accordance with this recommendation, and by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Southern Illinois University Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the degree Doctor of Medicine with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto appertaining.
Please be seated. Dr. Lindsay Ann Harden Atwood. Dr. Carolyn Grace Ayers, Bloomington. Dr. Jayla Bernice Barnett, Birmingham, Alabama. Dr. Austin M. Beeson, Mattoon. Dr. Benjamin Carl Beggs, Harrisburg. Dr. Michael Thomas Bernhardt, Bloomington. Dr. Mitchell T. Binkley, Polo. Dr. Brittany Noel Blaze, Carbondale. Dr. Erica Bomer, Granite City. Dr. Stephen J. Brandt, Bloomington. Dr. Ashley M. Bird, Granite City. Dr. Sophia A. Candell, Willowbrook. Dr. Alex R. Cavender, Moments. Dr. Judith Marie Chatto, Rosa Claire. Dr. Eric Charles Curry, Reynolds. Dr. Sean J. Curry, Bridgeport. Dr. Melissa A. Dodds, Rochelle. Dr. Kathleen A. Ehlers, Peoria. Dr. Patrick Fitzgerald, Godfrey. Dr. Michael T. Janetti, Bloomington. Dr. Jenna Geckner, Effingham. Dr. Jason A. Hahn, Bloomington. Dr. Kristen Hertwig, Marissa. Dr. Frank S. Hurd, Morton. Dr. Markeisha R. Jones, Jackson, Mississippi. Dr. Tyler Blaine Jones, Salem. Dr. Brock Edward Cabot, Scheller. Dr. Thomas Cates, Herscher. Dr. Kristen Renee Kirby, Richmond, Virginia. Dr. Samantha M. Koenig, Geneseo. Dr. Alexander Curdy, Chicago. Dr. Alex Lane, Edwardsville. Dr. Jordan Lang, Champaign. Dr. Corey Malone, Columbia. Dr. Kyle Allen McCullough, Decatur. Dr. Hussein Mesbah, Springfield. Dr. Danielle J. Miller, Germantown Hills. Dr. Alejandro J. Montoya, Elmwood. Dr. Jasmine Moreno, Chicago. Dr. Kyle Morgenstern, East Peoria. Dr. Brianna Lee Murphy, Springfield. Dr. Jacqueline Elizabeth Murray, Peoria. Dr. Sean Liam Murray, Lake Villa. Receiving both her MD and MPH degrees, Dr. Evan Lee Neumeister, Springfield. Dr. T. Lydell Newsom, Silver Spring, Maryland. Dr. Max Allen Nutt, Springfield. Dr. Jordan Pearl Orr, Reddick. Dr. Nithin L. Rao, Mount Zion. Dr. Abby Rocco, Springfield. Dr. Catherine Rose Schlepphorst, Quincy. Dr. Robert Anthony Schneitz, Edwardsville. Dr. Kate Lowe Schroeder, Bloomington. Dr. Rachel Shauna Siegel, Rock Island. Dr. Jansen R. Smith, Harrisburg. Dr. Matthew D. Soltis, Springfield. Dr. Daniel Lee Summers, Nashville. Dr. Alan Sutton, Oak Park. Dr. Laura Swale, Bourbonnais. Dr. Christopher James Tukey, Washington. Dr. Benjamin Voss, Muscuda. Dr. Eric Wright, Freeport. Dr. Aisha Yansane, Silver Spring, Maryland. At this time, I'd like to welcome the class of 2017, but more importantly, I want you guys to turn around and thank all those people behind you, because none of you would be in those seats without those people back there. Turn around and thank them.
Please be seated. Congratulations. It's my pleasure now to introduce to you our speaker, Dr. Kamara Jones. Dr. Jones is one of America's great eloquent voices for equity in our personal lives, in our institutions, and in our nation. She's one of America's great advocates for improving the well-being of every person, for fairness and justice in access to care, for fairness and justice in the delivery of care, and for fairness and justice in addressing the social determinants of health and in addressing the social determinants of equity. Dr. Jones is a busy woman. She is immediate past president of the American Public Health Association. At the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, she is research director on social determinants of health and equity in the Division of Adult and Community Health at the National Center for Chronic Disease Prevention and Health Promotion. It's a big job. She is associate professor at the Morehouse School of Medicine and the Rollins School of Public Health, and a senior fellow in health disparities research at the Satcher Health Leadership Institute. Dr. Jones holds degrees and certifications in medicine, family medicine, public health, preventive medicine, and a PhD in epidemiology. She's studied at Wellesley, Stanford, Johns Hopkins, Albert Einstein College of Medicine, Montefiore. You'll see in your booklet that Dr. Jones is a family physician, a methodologist, a social epidemiologist, and a teacher, and I'll tell you why that's important. As a methodologist, she develops new ways to interpret research, denominators, registries, big data. As a social epidemiologist, she digs deeply to the root cause, looking for structural and systemic sources of inequity. As a teacher, her allegories and her TED Talks on race and racism illuminate topics that are almost always difficult for most Americans to understand. She expands our consciousness. Dr. Jones broadens the national healthcare debate to include not only universal access to high-quality care, but also to break down the barriers that inhibit equitable care, to attend to poverty, to attend to racism, institutional racism, personal racism, internalized racism. Dr. Kamara Jones is committed to impacting the health of people, to improving the well-being of people, and to saving lives, millions at a time. Another great thing about Dr. Jones is her eldest daughter is a great writer and novelist. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Kamara Phyllis Jones.
Well, good afternoon now to all of you, and congratulations, class of 2017. It's really great. I've only spent one day here, and already I know that this is a bittersweet moment for you all, the graduates, because you have been a part of a family here, a very well-loved and nurtured family here. So I hope to give you just one more thing to think about and do together before you disperse into the far corners of the world. I want to share with you some of my work and then leave you with a charge. So you heard that I was the president last year of the American Public Health Association, and in that role, I launched our association, and as many other organizations and partners and community members as would join us on a national campaign against racism. And I traveled across this country to 40 states, and I traveled outside of this country giving people, talking about racism, trying to give people tools to name racism, ask how is racism operating here, and organize and strategize to act. And you all are wondering, really? Did people let you in? Did people invite you? You really were going around talking about racism? And part of my success in doing that, because yes, I was not only invited in, I was celebrated. And my success is that I do that through storytelling, through sharing allegories to make things not threatening, but so that we can talk together about these very important issues, because many people in this country will acknowledge, well, yeah, maybe racism did exist in the past, but many people are in denial that it continues to exist and have profound impacts on the health and well-being of our nation. So I want to share with you just two stories during this brief talk. The first story, sparked by an experience I had as a medical student, I call Dual Reality, a restaurant saga. So let me paint the scene for you. I was studying with some friends for some kind of exam, and we were studying in my apartment, and we were studying long and hard, and it got late, and we got hungry, and there was no food in the apartment. So we decided to go into town and try to find something to eat. So we go into town, and we find a restaurant, and we walk in, and we sit down, and the menus are presented, and we order our food, and the food is served, and voila, here we are eating. Not a very revealing story yet. You're like, oh, I heard she was a storyteller. What? Well, but hold on. As I'm sitting there with my friends eating, I looked across the room and I noticed a sign. And the sign was a startling and profound revelation to me about racism. So now you're going to look in your books. Where did she go to medical school? Like, what did the sign say? Well, let me tell you what the sign said. The sign said, open. So now I know I lost you. So let me recap. Here we are sitting together in a restaurant eating. I look across, I see a sign that says open, and if I hadn't thought anything more about it, I would have assumed that other hungry people could come in, sit down, order their food, and eat. But because I knew something about the two-sided nature of those signs, I recognized that now, because of the hour, in fact, the restaurant was closed, and that other hungry people, just a few feet away from me, but on the other side of the sign, would not be able to come in, sit down, order their food, and eat. And then I understood how racism structures open-closed signs in our society, that racism structures a dual reality. And for those who are inside the restaurant, sitting at the table of opportunity eating, and they look up and they see a sign that says open, they don't even realize that there's a two-sided sign going on, because it's hard for any of us to recognize a system of inequity that privileges us. It is hard for men to recognize male privilege and sexism. It is hard for white Americans to recognize white privilege and racism. It is hard for all Americans to recognize our American privilege in the global context, except we got a little taste of that with Ebola, did we not? Yet for those on the other side of the sign, on the outside, they're very well aware there's a two-sided sign going on because it proclaims closed to them, but they can look through the window and see people inside eating. So back inside the restaurant to those who are saying, is there really a two-sided sign? Does racism really exist? I say, I know it's hard to know when you only see open. In fact, that's part of your privilege, not to have to know. But once you do know, you can choose to act. So it's not even a scary thing to name racism, it's an empowering thing. It doesn't even compel you to act, but it does equip you to act. So that if you care about those on the other side of the sign, and that is an if, but if you do, you might even talk to the restaurant owner, who is, after all, inside with you. And you might say, why don't you open the restaurant again? There are hungry people outside. Let them come in. You'll make more money, and oh, the conversations we can have. Or maybe you'll pass food through the door, maybe you'll break the glass or tear down the sign, but at least what you won't be doing is sitting back saying, wonder why those people don't just come on in and sit down and eat, because you'll understand something about the two-sided nature of that sign. So I use that allegory, first of all, to let people know that we do live in a country with dual or multi-sided realities. And even though your experience has not screamed racism to you, it does indeed exist. So now what I need to do is define racism for you, because if I leave you now, you'll have all kinds of ideas about what am I really talking about. So when I say the word racism, I am clear that I'm talking about a system. I am not talking about an individual character flaw or a personal moral failing or even a psychiatric illness, as some people have suggested. But I'm talking about a system of power. And it's a system of doing what? It's a system of structuring opportunity and of assigning value. And on what basis is the opportunity structured or the value assigned? It's based on the social interpretation of how we look, based on so-called race. You know, medical students especially, we could talk an hour, we could talk a day about what race is and what race isn't. But just to give you an example of what I mean by the social interpretation of how we look, I'll give you myself as an example. Here in Springfield, Illinois, you look at me, I'm clearly black. In some parts of Brazil, you look at me, I'm just as clearly white. In South Africa, you look at me, I'm clearly colored. Here I am, same physical appearance, but the social interpretation of my appearance in those three settings would assign me to three different racial groups. And furthermore, if I were to stay in any of those settings long enough, my health outcome would probably take on that of the group to which I've been assigned, even though I'd have the same genes in all three places. Now, this system of structuring opportunity and assigning value based on so-called race, based on the social interpretation of how we look, has three impacts. The first is that it unfairly disadvantages some individuals and communities. But it shouldn't take us long to recognize that every unfair disadvantage has its reciprocal unfair advantage, so that racism is also unfairly advantaging other individuals and communities. That's the whole issue of unearned white privilege that we hardly ever talk about in this country, because it makes some people very uncomfortable. And I'm hoping that even with that dual reality story, you can understand how there is this reciprocal thing. I'm not trying to make anybody uncomfortable. I will tell you another story that hopefully will dispel all discomfort. But even as we acknowledge, okay, we have a system that's either unfairly disadvantaging or unfairly advantaging individuals and communities, there's one more impact that most of us are clueless about, and that is how racism saps the strength of our whole society through the waste of human resources. How the blinders of racism, they don't value all of us equally, make us not invest vigorously in the full, excellent education of all of our children, because these blinders make us believe that maybe there's no genius in the barrios or the ghettos or on the reservations. We can get along very well, thank you, without those kids. But of course, there's genius in all of our communities. And if we were to only fully and vigorously invest in that genius, we could be doing so much better as a nation or as a world. These same blinders make us as a nation complacent with what I describe as a wholesale warehousing disproportionately of so many black and brown men in our prison system, as if that didn't separate us from human potential. And if you know any of these folks who are stuck in the prisons or cycling in and out, because when you come out with a felony conviction, hard to get a job, hard to get housing, in some states, you can't even vote again, ever. If you know any of these people, you know there are many geniuses just caught up in this system that if there had been only some other way, could be contributing quite productively to our society. So I want to close this little bit out by saying we have to recognize that racism unfairly disadvantages some and unfairly advantages others, but really perhaps the most profound impact is how it's sapping the strength of our whole society through the waste of human resources. So before I give you my charge, I want to tell you one more story. And this story was also sparked by something I saw with my own real eyes. I don't have the time to tell you my real life experience, so I'm going to jump to the chase. And this story is going to be to illustrate 3 levels of racism: institutionalized, personally mediated, and internalized. Because when you try to figure out how could racism turn into a health outcome that I'm going to see in my clinic or in the hospital or in my community, how does racism turn into differences in asthma prevalence or differences in the numbers of babies who die before their first birthday, or differences in obesity prevalence or heart attacks or strokes or all of that? It's useful to think about institutionalized racism, personally mediated racism, and internalized racism. I'll give you a very quick description of each and then tell you the story. Institutionalized racism is the system, if you will. It's the constellation of structures, policies, practices, norms, and values that result in differential access to the goods, services, and opportunities of society by race. This is the kind of racism that doesn't require an identifiable perpetrator because it's been institutionalized in our laws, customs, background norms. This is the kind of racism that we see in terms of differences by race in terms of housing, educational opportunities, income, wealth, access to medical facilities, access to information, all of that. And this is the kind of racism that explains why we see an association between social class and race in this country, because it includes present-day contemporary structures in our laws and the like that are perpetuating present-day historical injustices. This is the kind of racism that can either be through acts of doing or acts of not doing, and very often shows up as inaction in the face of need. The second level of racism, personally mediated racism, I define as differential assumptions about the abilities, motives, intents of others by race, and then differential actions based on those assumptions. So this is what most people think of when they hear the word racism. Somebody did something to somebody. It includes the prejudice, the different idea, the discrimination, the different action. It could impact health because through police brutality or even physician disrespect. I am a physician. I am not pointing a finger at anybody without pointing back at me, but sometimes physicians don't give a patient the full range of treatment options because we think, well, that patient couldn't afford, or wouldn't comply, or wouldn't understand, or whatever we think. This personally mediated racism manifests as shopkeeper vigilance, being followed around in stores, or waiter indifference, or even teacher devaluation. And this kind of racism, like institutionalized, can be through acts of doing as well as acts of not doing, but also very important to recognize that it can be unintentional as well as intentional. You do not have to have intended to do something racist to have had a racist impact. The third level of racism, internalized, I define from the point of view of members of the stigmatized races as acceptance by members of the stigmatized races of negative messages about our own abilities and intrinsic wealth, so intrinsic worth. And so this turns into self-devaluation, helplessness, hopelessness, resignation, feeling maybe you're really not as good as. And it turns into accepting the limitations to our own full humanity of the box into which we've been placed. So the story starts with a gardener. This story, by the way, I call Levels of Racism, a gardener's tale. And so we have a gardener who has 2 flower boxes, one which she knows to have rich, fertile soil, and one which she knows to have poor, rocky soil. And she has seed for the same kind of flowers, except some of the seed is going to produce pink blossoms, and some of the seed is going to produce red blossoms. And the gardener prefers red over pink. So what does she do? She takes the red seed and puts it in the rich, fertile soil, pink seed in the poor, rocky soil. And 3 weeks later, she sees what I actually saw with my own eyes on my porch in Baltimore. 3 weeks later, she sees that in that rich, fertile soil, all the red seed has sprouted. Strong red seed grows tall and vigorous, but even the weak red seed makes it halfway up. But in that poor, rocky soil, the weak pink seed dies. And even the strong pink seed has to struggle to make it to a middling height. And then in those 2 flower boxes, those flowers go to seed. And the next year, the same thing happens. And then those flowers go to seed. And year after year after year after year, the same thing happens until finally, 10 years later, the gardener's looking at her flower boxes and she says, you know, I was right to prefer red over pink. So we interrupt the first part of the story to say that the first part illustrates how institutionalized racism works. Because you had an initial historical injustice, the separation of the seed into the two types of soil. You had contemporary structural factors keeping the soil separate, and then through inaction in the face of need, perpetuation of the inequity. But let's pick the story back up and say, well, where is personally mediated racism in the garden? Where the gardener's looking over at the red flowers thinking, red is just beautiful. And then she looks at the pink flowers and she says, oh, those pink flowers sure are scrawny and scraggly. So she plucks off the pink blossoms before they can even go to seed. Or maybe she notices that a pink seed has blown into the rich, fertile soil. So she plucks it out before it can establish itself, which is some of the anti-affirmative action stuff that goes on. And where would internalized racism be in the garden? Well, the red flowers are just living their lives, enjoying being red, many of them not even understanding or acknowledging that they're benefiting from enriched soil. The pink flowers are looking over at red, thinking red is mighty fine, and wishing with all their hearts that maybe they too could be red. And here come the bees, and the bees are minding their own business, collecting nectar, but of course they're pollinating at the same time. So here comes a bee, bzz, into one of the pink flowers, and then bzz, to another pink flower, and then bzz, to this pink flower, and this flower is like, get away from me, bee. Don't bring me any of that pink pollen. I prefer the red, because the red flower has internalized. The pink flower has internalized that red is better than pink. So now the question arises, what do we do to set things right in this garden? Well, we could start by addressing the internalized racism. So we can go over to the pink flowers and we can say, pink is beautiful, power to the pink. And that is an important intervention, but if that's all we do, it's not going to change the situation in which the pink flowers find themselves. So you can say, okay, well, let's address the personally mediated racism. Let's have a conversation with the gardener. Or better yet, let's have a workplace multicultural workshop for the gardener. It's all good. So we have our workshop. And in the workshop, we say, dear gardener, would you please stop plucking those pink flowers? And maybe she will, and maybe she won't. But even if she does, it's still not going to change the situation in which the pink flowers find themselves. If we really want to set things right in this garden, we need to address the institutionalized racism, which means we have to either break down the boxes and mix up the soil, or if you want to keep separate boxes, that's all right too, although in my mind it makes it easier for the gardener to continue segregating resources going forward. But if you keep separate boxes, what it means is that you need to enrich that poor rocky soil until it is as rich as the rich fertile soil. And when you do, the pink flowers will flourish. They'll be looking beautiful, grand, and glorious, so that in that intervention on the institutionalized racism, you will have also addressed the internalized, because now pink won't be looking over at red thinking that red is better or wanting to be red. And in that intervention, you may also address the personally mediated racism. Now, the original gardener may have to go to her grave preferring red over pink, but her children who grow up and see the flowers equally beautiful would be less likely to have this kind of attitude. So the story has been to illustrate these three levels of racism: institutionalized, personally mediated, and internalized, and to very strongly suggest that if we want to set things right in the garden, we need to at least address the institutionalized. Good to address all the levels at the same time, but at least address the institutionalized, and when we do, the other levels may take care of themselves. Just one more question I want to leave you with before I leave the gardener's tale and give you your charge. And the question is, who is the gardener? After all, the gardener is the one that I gave the power to decide, the power to act, and control of resources, which in my mind are actually the elements of self-determination. Who is the gardener? Well, government is a huge part of the gardener, but not the only part. Media, foundations, corporations, communities, to the extent that they have self-determination. But whoever the gardener is, it is dangerous when the gardener is allied with one group. I paint her red. That's why she prefers red over pink. And it's also dangerous when she's not concerned with equity, when she can look at her flower boxes and think that her garden is beautiful, thank you, because she isn't really counting the pink flowers as part of her garden. And so our challenge is what to do about the gardener. Do we make the gardener striped or polka dotted or fuchsia? Do the pink flowers have to grow or recruit their own gardener? Lots of questions that can come out of this story. And I leave this to you. I want to tell you these stories because people, even as you disperse into your own lives and your own trajectories, I hope that you have some very interesting conversations around your dinner tables tonight about these stories. So I want to now just leave you my charge, which is a three-part charge. You can think of it as the 3 C's. My charge to you graduates is to be courageous, to be curious, and to be citizens. Now, be courageous includes being unafraid of controversy. Here I am. I exemplify that today in front of you in terms of this commencement address. Be unafraid of controversy. Embrace challenge. If somebody offers you the opportunity to do something and you're not quite sure you can do it, say yes. Because the person offering you that opportunity already knows what you may not know about yourself, that you will be successful. So embrace challenge. Go forward, follow your own passions, forge your own path. Even though you might feel like, okay, I'm on my way to this residency or that residency, that does not necessarily direct your whole future and your whole path. Follow your own path, be courageous. The second thing, be curious. Ask why. Ask why, of course, of your patients when you see somebody presenting with a problem. But also ask, why do I see these people in these conditions? Always be curious. Always ask, not only why is this person not eating well? Maybe it has something to do with what's available in their community to eat. But then why do we see some communities with fresh fruits and vegetables and others without? What about that? And ask a broader why. When I want you to be curious, you need to examine history, not just the history of the present illness or family history, or even the history of their personal medical history, but ask about the history of where you're practicing. Think about the history of our nation that makes some people think that there's unfair disadvantage and there's normal. Many people think there's unfair disadvantage and there's normal because we're ahistorical and don't recognize that many of our normals is built up on a whole mountain of unfair advantage. I want you to be curious and burst through the bubbles of our experience to see to understand that just across town there are people who are just as kind, funny, generous, hardworking, smart as you are, who live in very different circumstances. And I want you to become interested, curious about the stories of others. I want you to believe the stories of others, and I want you to join in the stories of others. So I've urged you to be courageous, I've urged you to be curious, and the last thing is to be a citizen. Be concerned about the whole. Do not get trapped into a narrow interest in only your or your family's well-being or your patient's well-being. When you become concerned about the whole, I want you to engage with the whole. Share your perspectives. You will be invited to be many decision-making tables. Go. Share your skills. And then finally, stay woke. Young people know what I mean by that. Stay woke. Be vigilant, be aware of what's going on in the world. So I want to close by saying congratulations to all of you for your accomplishments so far and your accomplishments to come. Congratulations, family members and friends. I was welling up with pride, and I don't even know these young people. This is a marvelous, marvelous group, and this is a marvelous accomplishment for you all. As you go forward, though, I want you to just do one thing. Go forth and matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. I'd like to now introduce Dr. Elizabeth Kavanaugh, the president of the SIU School of Medicine Alumni Society, who will present the Distinguished Alumna Award.
Good afternoon. It is my great pleasure to introduce the SIU School of Medicine 2017 Distinguished Alumni Award winner, Dr. Janet Albers. Dr. Albers has excelled in all aspects of her career. She currently leads the Department of Family and Community Medicine as its chair. She started with a national reputation in women's health, but has also become a leader in the area of integrative health care. Dr. Albers has started the Federally Qualified Health Center in Springfield and has been a key contributor to other federally qualified health care centers in downstate Illinois, bringing access to many people who otherwise would not have that. I could go on for probably as long as this has gone on before, talking about Dr. Albers' accomplishments, but I think I'll use the words of others who have nominated her. Dr. Wiek, who was a distinguished alumni himself, describes Dr. Albers as the consummate professional with a wide range of experience and knowledge, but also a warm, caring person. She could not have accomplished all that she has done with just knowledge alone, and it's her affable personality and delightful sense of humor that has propelled her to one of the top 1% of family physicians that I know and respect. And probably best said by Dr. Daniels, she is wicked smart. She has laser focus on our mission, is an excellent clinician, and personally one of the nicest people you will ever meet. She is the embodiment of what this school is about. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce the 2017 SIU School of Medicine Distinguished Alumni Award winner, Dr. Janet Albers.
Wow, what a surprise all of this has been. I'm truly humbled. Thank you, Dr. Kavanaugh and the Alumni Board for this honor. I'm really grateful for the foundation that I received 30 years ago as a medical student at SIU. And it's been such a privilege to be back here for the last 20 years teaching in the Department of Family and Community Medicine. None of these things that Dr. Kavanaugh listed, though, would have been possible without the support, the hard work, and the dedication of my exceptional faculty, administration, and staff at the Center for Family Medicine, as well as throughout the Department of Family and Community Medicine in Carbondale, Decatur, Quincy, and Springfield. A very special thank you to my wonderful family, my husband Tom and my daughter Chrissy, who are here today, and my boys TJ, Zach, and Charlie. Your love and support and the joy and laughter that we share every day means everything to me. To you, the graduates, I am grateful that I have gotten to know so many of you over the last couple years during clerkship and electives. Our future in medicine is truly bright with your passion, with your heart, and with your vision. I'd like to ask of you 3 things. First, always remember what a privilege it is that we have to be in medicine and to have this very special relationship with our patients and their families, a window into their lives and the trust that they put in us. Secondly, hold on to your passion and be agents of change in transforming our healthcare system to improve health outcomes and reduce disparities. And lastly, remember the mentors that you have had and pay it forward by supporting students at all levels as they consider the field of medicine. Role models are so crucial to inspire our future workforce in medicine that is so desperately needed. Thanks again so much for this overwhelming honor, and congratulations to you, class of 2017. I wish you every happiness and success.
Congratulations, Citizen Albers. It's my pleasure now to announce the recipients of the Leonard Toe Humanism in Medicine Awards. These 2 special honors go to a graduating student and to a faculty member who were judged to be exemplary in their compassion and sensitivity in the delivery of care to patients, families, and communities. 2 individuals have been identified by faculty, residents, and students as individuals who exhibit this highest standard of humanism in medicine. From the graduating students, will Dr. Jordan Lang please step forward? Jordan is a multi-talented fellow who likes to use his own gifts to help others. He's an entertainer. He plays guitar, trombone, piano. He's a singer. He's a stand-up improv comedian. Know any pirate jokes? I don't know. He's a role model and a motivator. While in medical school, he impacted our community. He organized meals for the homeless. He taught anti-smoking behavior to junior high students. He's a mentor to local grade school children at our adopted neighborhood school. He helped organize a fundraiser for new playground equipment. He makes our international students feel right at home. His student nominator said he is one of the most warm-hearted and caring classmates he could ever imagine. Congratulations.
I have nothing prepared except to say I'm just deeply honored. Thank you so much. What a surprise. And to the class of 2017, congratulations, and you guys are going to do great things.
Will Dr. Saba Ganai please step forward from the faculty? Dr. Ganai is Assistant Professor of General Surgery and a specialist in surgical oncology, a cancer doctor. She recently received the 2015 Healthcare Disparities Research Award from the Society for Surgery of the Alimentary Tract. The student who nominated Dr. Ganai for this award was struck by her commitment to her patients' understanding of their diagnosis and treatment options. Quote, "Her ability to convey important information in a patient, kind, and educational manner is unparalleled. She is committed to showing empathy at all times. She teaches how to be empathetic by role modeling." Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I also don't have anything prepared, but I always reflect on the fact that cancer is the ultimate act of betrayal. And in order to help coach your patients to effectively manage whether curative or palliative treatment to keep going, you really do have to be an effective teacher. And I thank my students as well for teaching me that, because if I can't communicate to my students, I can't communicate to my patients. Thank you all.
At this time, I recognize Dr. Sean Liam Murray, Chair of the Class of 2017.
Every year, the graduating medical school class selects one faculty member to award the Golden Apple to. This award goes to the faculty member that had the most resounding, substantial impact on our education. While many phenomenal faculty were nominated and voted for, to me, the gentleman that will receive this award this year is an absolute no-brainer. While his lectures on empathy and compassion didn't score us any extra points on our board exams, it's likely his teachings will make the greatest impact on our careers anyway. It's my honor and privilege to congratulate Dr. Kevin Dorsey.
On behalf of all the faculty, thanks so much for this. And thanks for the trust that you place in us. Good luck. God bless.
That's next.
All righty, folks. When I sat down to write the speech, I had a really hard time putting the words on the paper. I wanted to say something that would inspire all of you. I quickly realized that that was going to be really difficult. When I look out into the crowd of you now physicians, I think about all of your accomplishments. Over the last 4 years, you've proven mastery over the subjects of anatomy, physiology, pathology, pharmacology, histology. Well, maybe we proved we were at least pretty good at the last one. While doing all of this, it's not like the rest of your lives came to a halt. Many people got married. 8 of us have married or are marrying other medical students, which I think is pretty close to the Dr. C's prediction of 10 of us. He made that prediction on the first day of medical school. Some of our classmates had children. The bravest of them had more than one. You've done research. You've presented your findings. You've published journal articles. You've traveled to other countries to lend your medical knowledge and skills to those in need. You spent countless other hours in community service endeavors. I think the only thing I can say that we didn't do over the last 4 years is fill out surveys, because only one of you responded to my Facebook post asking about these things. Thank you, Dr. Curdy. So what do you say to inspire people who inspire you? Instead, I wanted to shift gears. I'd like to charge you all with a mission, kind of to echo another speech we've heard today. To do that, I want to share with you a quote. It might be a little bit of a paraphrase. I hope Dr. Anderson is here somewhere. I have the utmost faith and confidence in your physical exam skills and clinical reasoning ability. For our friends and family who don't know, Dr. Anderson used to say this to us before every standardized patient encounter that we had first year. And Dr. Anderson, I have to admit that I used to laugh. Back then, I could hardly spell diarrhea. But you had the confidence that I could figure out what was causing it. But you know what? While it might have made us giggle, Dr. Anderson wasn't joking. And she wasn't the only one who felt that way either. By virtue of inviting us to be a part of the class of 2017, SIU School of Medicine expressed a confidence in us that I can personally say I don't know that I had in myself at that point. And I don't know about you, but that puts a certain kind of charge into me. I don't want to get all preachy here, so I'll try to get to the point, especially because I know you guys are all going to be this way anyway. But I hope we all go on to emulate the way we learn to do things here at SIU. I'm not talking about how to do a physical exam, or maybe I am, how to maintain a patient's dignity and modesty while doing it anyway. I hope you remember that a patient won't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. I hope you become great teachers who are truly kind to both patients and terrified medical students. More than anything, I know that you'll heed the call to do something great, because that's what we learned here, and that's what the admissions committee saw in you 4 short years ago. In closing, I just want to let you know that I'm as excited as your family and friends who sit behind you to see how far you all will go. I was proud to stand next to every one of you today. Good luck and congratulations.
The SIU School of Medicine exists for 2 reasons. 1, to improve the healthcare education, the delivery of healthcare, and the health for the people and communities of Western, Central, and Southern Illinois. And 2nd, to advance the discipline of medicine. We do that by educating physicians, physician assistants, and scientists, by research into the causes and cures of disease, and by caring for people and caring for communities in systems of care that meet the triple aim plus 1, healthcare and healthcare education that's more effective, more efficient, more equitable, and more enjoyable. To you, the new doctors, I give the advice that was given to me by one of my professors and mentors, Dr. Jerry Perkoff, who led discussions of ethics in his home. Dr. Perkoff's advice was to always consider and fulfill the 5 historic characteristics of the learned professions of which you are now a member. So those 5 age-old characteristics are these. 1, master and continue to master an extensive body of knowledge. You've got it. 2, hold the professional relationships you have with your patients in strict confidence. You're there. 3, provide leadership in the community you serve. Your class is great with that. 4, give back to the profession of medicine by teaching the next generation of physicians. You got that too. And 5, provide uncompensated care. So that what that really means is caring without question for those who are most vulnerable. Today, that means actively finding, offering care, understanding and addressing mistrust, and dissolving the barriers to care for those who are most in need. So I'm sure that all of you, as learned professionals and graduates of this School of Medicine, will honor those principles. On behalf of the faculty and administration of the SIU School of Medicine, I welcome you as colleagues. You will make a difference. We wish you always the best. This graduation ceremony is now complete. The convocation is ended. Your commencement has begun. Congratulations, doctors.